The Torah says that Hashem has a hand, but isn't this just a metaphor? The Torah also says that Hashem loves us, but how can he have an imperfect human emotion? And what has this got to do with our relationship with him? If we can truly desire, know and love, so can Hashem, right? This is not the difference between us. In this video series, my goal is to release your mind and soul to be able to freely think about Hashem in the way the Torah talks about him. Now we are really taking off. We're leaving the solar system altogether and heading out into the stars. In the last episode, we reached yet another ceiling and we lamented. Isn't it annoying? Isn't it saddening? Isn't it deeply depressing that no matter how much closer we seem to be able to get to Hashem in our learning, we always encounter another ceiling, and it feels like the seesaw is a roller coaster and we can never truly get his feelings all the way up to his very self. It seems like there's a disconnect. That's not true. And in this episode, we're going to show that indeed, not only can we get to be in an intimate relationship with a level of God, even the highest level, but with Hashem himself. And that is the very purpose of what the Baal Shem Tov life's mission and teachings were to achieve. So let's pause for a moment and reflect. The Baal Shem Tov recorded in a letter to his brother-in-law that he once ascended into the chamber of the Moshiach and asked, "When will you come?" And the Moshiach replied, "When your wellsprings spread to the outside." Now, this is talking about outside the Kabbalist's cave, outside the Chassid's shtetl, outside the mind of a Rebbe, and reaching even the non-Jews deep in the jungle. So what teachings are we talking about that have to get this far? What is the Moshiach about? That we should serve Hashem with joy? That Hashem recreates the world every moment, like the famous teachings of the Baal Shem Tov? Is this what really needs to reach the chutzah? Can't be. It can't be. It can't just be that. As beautiful as those ideas are, firstly, they're not revolutionary, and secondly, everybody knows them by now. Are these really the ideas that the Moshiach is waiting for to spread to the ends of the earth? It must be something much more Moshiachic than that. Surely, it's bringing Atzmus to the chutzah, bringing Hashem himself. This is the purpose of the Torah, and this is repeated over and over by the students of the Besht, especially the Chabad Rebbeim, who tell us that every word and every letter of the Torah reveals him. So, no, we are not back to square one. We are never back to square one. And the Mittler Rebbe, or the school of the Baal Shem Tov, helps us understand all this. Starting with Simson, by giving us a mashal of our own soul. He gives us a mashal in chapter 13 of the soul's vitality in the body. He explains that the soul is affected by the body, right? It feels the body's pain when the body is injured. But he says explicitly there that the feeling that the soul experiences does not change the soul in its essence. And this is what I was trying to explain previously. If we replace the word essence, which is hard to understand, with something more familiar, the word self, i.e. we are talking about your very self, who you actually are at the very, very core. You are always you. Who you are, the real, deep, essential you, is unchanging. No matter what you do, no matter what you feel, experience, you are still who you are, the same person, the same identity, whatever word you want to use. You are you. And that you remains the same even as your experiences come and go. It's very hard to talk about, but we're talking about something so close and personal to everyone. Talking about your very self, who you're referring to when you say I or me, that this should be something that you are familiar with. Don't let the philosophical terms confuse you. This is called your essence in philosophy, discussed at length in the Gemara, in Kabbalah and Chassidut, and even in secular philosophy. And as the Rambam says in the Moreh Nevuchim, essence can express, but this does not in any way reflect any change within or of the essence itself. This is true of you as well as Hashem, as we shall see. This is the key to putting it all together. When we question Atzmut, we need to be clear, what is the question? What are we asking? Are we asking what is Atzmut? Or are we asking who he is? These are two very different types of questions. The what question is a difficult one, maybe even an impossible one. It's the same kind of question as asking, what is a person? Or what is the I that is me? Philosophers have struggled with this for centuries. Concepts like consciousness, qualia, subjectivity, the self, all of these are attempts to describe the same core mystery. And we intuitively realize that it can't be fully grasped because whatever you use to examine it, your intellect, your language, your categories, are already expressions, tools that come after the self. You're trying to use part of yourself to analyze the whole of yourself. So the question, what is essence, becomes inherently paradoxical. But the question of who is the one that feels, knows, chooses, loves, that's deeply meaningful and answerable. You can know who you are, and you can know who Hashem is. Because we are both selves, however you say it. We are both real. Our essence is not an idea or category. It is the one who has ideas, the one who relates, who expresses. And so we don't need to get lost in the what of Atzmut to understand what matters most. We just need to know. Just as we have a self that can express without being altered by those expressions, so too with Hashem. This is not just a similarity. This is the mashal and the nimshal that we were talking about. At this point of the discussion, one might ask about Tzimtzum. It sounds like this implies that Hashem's connection to us is not authentic, as Hashem limited himself at this stage. He originally could express himself through infinite sfirot, but now he limits himself to 10 that he emanated. Therefore, imagining that he loves us, the sphere of chesed, sounds a bit silly. Even if his love is infinite, which is of course true, the sphere of chesed of Atzilut is truly infinite, love itself seems infinitely small and insignificant to him. Not to mention that he loves us and our righteous deeds, which are far more insignificant still. So the Tzemach Tzedek clarifies that a Tzimtzum is much greater than your typical mashal, like when a teacher explains a lesson to a student by putting it into a much more simplified version. It's much greater than that. It's infinitely greater than that, in fact. So much so that the Rambam rightly calls it a homonym. But the Tzemach Tzedek does clarify that it's not completely different. It's different only in scale, far, far greater. And still, it's a perfect mashal, even if it's an infinite one. Also, by the way, he, and basically all of Chassidus, clarifies another misconception. We are not insignificant to him, even if love is. Yes, love is completely insignificant to him. If he could have us without love, he would. Love is a creation so that he could have us, because that's what we need. But his need for us is as essential as his own essence is to him. And therefore, one can say that he created love in order to have us, like I just said, rather than the other way around, i.e. the famous idea that he created us because he likes to do chesed. It's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the other way around. And this is what I meant earlier when I said that the difference between us and Hashem is not in whether he can feel, will, or act. The difference lies in the scale and the distance. His self is infinitely greater than ours, but the structure, essence that expresses without change, that's not foreign to us. It's exactly how we work too, and that's why we can relate to him. The difference between us and Hashem is not that we can love and he cannot, chas v'shalom. It's that his love is infinitely more real, more essential, more true than ours, because our love is a mashal for his. And so, when we learn about the unity of Hashem, that he is one, unchanging, indivisible, this does not mean that he doesn't love, or choose, or care. It means that all of those things are flowing perfectly from his essence, just as they do from ours, but even more so, in an even more unified way, in an even more infinite way. The good news is that we don't even need to wrestle with a complex philosophical question of what is Atzmut, what is essence, in order to know that Hashem truly loves us. That's not required to understand the basic truth that we're establishing here. We've already seen that his essence, just like your own, can express without undergoing any change whatsoever. And if that's true, then his love, his care, his presence are completely real and completely consistent with his oneness. This holds true for you too. Your essence remains unchanged, even as you express love, pain, joy, or longing. You're still you after all of that, and he is still him after all of that too. So, understanding the what of essence is certainly a curiosity, let's say, for intellectuals. And this video series is of course here to provide a way to prove Hashem's expressions are real from a rigorous theological standpoint. But for 99% of the Baal Shem Tov's beloved simple Jews trying to understand Hashem and His Torah, we don't need to understand that question. We just need to know that His expressions, like ours, are His, expressing Himself, and thus real in the same way that ours are. But again, infinitely more. We can relate to Him simply. He is a someone, not a something, a who, not a what. Going back to the theology though, much of Chassidus about Atzmus focuses on this elusive what, asking what it means for something to be beyond description, beyond category, and beyond limitation. And people often make a critical mistake. They hear that Hashem's essence is unknowable and beyond all relation, and they assume therefore that this must mean that His love or emotions aren't real, that they're not truly Him. But this is not what the teachings are saying. It's a confusion between the indescribability of the what and the reality of the who. Yes, Atzmus is itself beyond being defined, beyond being limited, even beyond being beyond, like we said. But that doesn't mean that His expressions are somehow disconnected or inauthentic or untrue, chas v'shalom. So, let's recap. In this episode, we asked some of the deepest questions of all. What is essence? Who is Hashem? In the next episode, we will find out how essence can actually be revealed through expressions, how we can get to know Him through Torah. Stay tuned.